Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Tuesday edition of the JP Peterson Show as we come to you live from our Winter Garden studio, as I like to call it, and in our Dallas studio as well with IndyCar Tim. Good morning to you, sir. Happy Halloween.
Good morning, JP. Happy Halloween to everybody out there in the Bay Area. I guess that's not really the Bay Area. That's the other Bay, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't.
Tampa Bay.
Really, yeah, it's Tampa Bay. You know, we don't.
I don't consider that other Bay Area part of the United States. So
not anymore.
No.
Not anymore. Certainly not anymore. Yeah, no. It's it has turned into something quite different, to be sure. We're my head. I feel like my hat's like cockeyed today. Like I don't even.
You're wearing it like the kids do. You know, you got to pull it off to the side and then flatten the brim and stick it up like that. And
really weird. It feels really weird today. Whatever.
It's a mess.
I need one of those like flat hats, right? Is that what I need?
But do that.
Anyway, but happy Halloween to everyone. I was wearing my Halloween costume last night at the Lightning game. I don't know if you saw pictures of that. They dressed me up as Snape, Professor Snape, and my Alan Rickman was not very good. It just I tried to work on it a little bit, but he speaks so slowly that I would never be able to get through my script and speak like he does.
Hockey moves faster than that, JP.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean, and people are like, "Come on, man, that's not very good." I'm like, "Yeah, give me a break here," you know. So, no, it was fun last night, though. We always do. I think our Lightning Vision people do the best job with all our theme shows. We do a Star Wars. We do so many different theme shows, and they do, a 90s and 80s. And Halloween is always really, really fun. So, once again, the Lightning we're dressed up as overtime pumpkins. Could not finish off their 10th straight loss in overtime, including the playoffs. Oh my God, it's been absolutely horrific. It's been horrific. And, I just John, we'll hear from Cooper in a second, but we talk about different strategies. They put Glendenning out there last night to win the opening faceoff, which they did not win. So for the first minute and 26, they don't have the puck, and they're giving up a couple of shots here and there. Can't get the puck back. Finally get the puck back and have a golden opportunity with Point and Cooch, who hits the post. I mean, I don't know how he didn't put that one in. They had golden opportunities late in the third period after they tied it up, and they hit a cross. Fleury hits a crossbar. Tanner Jeannot, who had a goal in the game, had a wide open net, couldn't get it off his backhand into the net. They had so many opportunities to win this game, but when you give up 3 goals in the first in 3 minutes and 44 seconds of the first period, you got to, as Coop said, you got to score 4 goals unanswered the rest of the way to get back in the game, and that's a tough road to climb in any NHL team.
Playing behind in hockey is not a fun task, and it's almost impossible in the NHL.
When you have, especially you're going against a well-coached team and a team that has players. I'm not seeing Seattle is the best team in this league, but they're a very competent crew. Grubauer, their goalie, was fantastic last night. He made some incredible saves. And they just play keep away, and you play smart hockey. It's really difficult to come back. Listen, that was a game where, you saw a lot of good things. Tanner Jeannot gets on the score sheet again. Alex Barboulay scores for the 3rd consecutive game. That's fantastic. You got to have that other scoring. Johansson was fantastic again last night. He's the number 2 star of the week for the NHL. He's been fantastic. He was awesome again last night. As Brian Engblom, my partner on the post-game show, said last night, he was sensational in the first period, made 5 or 6 tremendous saves to keep him in the game, or it could have been much worse. So, you just can't come out sleepwalking against anybody. And, they've had a good homestand. They get 8 points out of a possible 10. That's nothing to sneeze at, 3-0-2. But you're like, wow, you should have won the game against Toronto. You blow a two-goal lead, in the last 8 minutes of the third period. That can't happen to anybody, even a team as good as Toronto. Lose in overtime again, and then against Seattle, you just come out sleepwalking, and you can't do it. This league is too tough. and they paid the price for that last night. So we'll hear from Coop a little bit later on in the show because I want to get to some other things as well. Normally, Scott Reynolds joins us here on a Tuesday. He has pushed to tomorrow, so we'll get him tomorrow. TJ Rives will join us at 11:05. We got lots to talk about regarding the Bucs. We'll talk. I had to, Tim, I have to definitely ask you about what may have been one of your top 5 sports experiences in your life, because that World Series game, what was it, Friday night game 1 you went to in Texas? That was to watch it. The atmosphere was just, coming through the TV. What was it like to experience that game, the walk-off and the World Series, the comeback? That was intense, to say the least.
So, JP, as you know, sporting events can be emotional roller coasters, especially playoff games, especially baseball playoff games where you can go into the 9th down, even with an out, and, the home crowd's just kind of like, well, all right, whatever happens, and it's a long series, and you set yourself into that mentality, and then bam, with one swing of the bat. And it's funny, I watched the TV broadcast of it later, and was it Joe Davis? I think that's the guy that replaced Joe Buck over there, doing a fine job too for Fox. Right before he, I think it was the Seager home run that tied it. Right before that, he says he can tie it with one swing of the bat, and then literally, boom. Seager ties the game. But man, it's an emotional roller coaster when you go to these things. And as far as the atmosphere goes, man, I've never been in a more electric atmosphere at a sporting event in my entire life. And I went to the 94 All-Star game that they had here in Arlington. Right after the Rangers built the second new stadium, the previous new stadium that's now an XFL and rugby stadium, right next door still to the new ballpark.
Just keep rubbing it in. Here.
Yeah, we're on our second new stadium since 94, JP.
Just stop.
And we don't have catwalks either. How's that?
Enough of you. I'll get to that later, by the way. We have stadium news today.
But yes, you do, very much so. But it's for people who don't follow sports, there's nothing to describe it that will help them understand. Because I've had other people asking me about it. I'm just like, look, if you've never been to any kind of game, I can't tell you what it's like.
Well, listen, I think for my money, college football is the most electric atmosphere. A big college football game, rivalry game, at night, in which I will be hopefully attending next weekend, Miami. Hopefully it's a night game. I'm going. They haven't set the time yet. They're going to wait till 6, which I hate when they wait 6 days before the game. Come on, people have to travel.
Yeah,
it's so ridiculous. But anyway, I think it's going to be a night game. There's just nothing like it for me. It is the most electric atmosphere, the emotion that goes into it. Yeah. The fact that it's not NFL football, it's not,
it's good product.
It's just the pageantry, the bands, the cheerleaders, the fans. It's just the tailgating, everything. To me, it's the best. That's just my opinion. But baseball games are different. Like they have a different vibe to them because of the rhythm of the game. The rhythm of the game is different. Strike one, strike two, ball. And every, you get down to that situation, where one swing of the bat ties it. And the place is just going bananas. Every pitch, which is usually a very mundane act, becomes this amazing moment every pitch, and you're living and dying with it. Yeah. And the crowd's just ready to explode. And then when it happens, it's just this, explosion of emotion. Just you've been to both. Can you describe the difference between what a a World Series baseball game is like compared to maybe a college football game?
Yeah, so the only way I could correlate it was think about, like you said, a big rivalry game, maybe where that's completely electric, or a national championship game for sure. But and I think you're talking about how literally the game hangs on the balance of every pitch. I think the pitch clock too has helped that along tremendously this year.
Think about that.
Because you don't get the lull of 45 seconds to a minute between every pitch, right?
Yes.
It's happening like that. I don't know that it's great for the pitchers this year. I know pitcher injuries are up. Maybe that's a segment for another day, but from a fan's standpoint, man, the pitch clock has done wonders and it's always been there. That's what's funny. It's always been there. They've just never enforced it before. And now they're finally doing that. And especially in these playoffs, man, you just don't have time to sit there. Everybody says baseball's a boring sport. I just get bored. Well, not anymore. Because they're throwing a pitch every 25 seconds,
That's interesting, because this is the first World Series with a pitch clock. So to be at the game and that just ramps it up even more. Yeah. But, like national championship games, Super Bowls, these are not partisan events. Right. They're very corporate. They're very more sterile. Whereas a home game for a college game, on a campus, much different. A home game for a baseball game, very partisan crowd again. So it's just different electricity. And, for my money, that's, I've been to, Rays playoff games have been, some of the best atmospheres I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And that's in a complete shit stadium.
Yeah.
So, I can only imagine what it's like in a real stadium and 40,000 people and just, wow, and then, so when Garcia hit the home run, what was that like?
My baseball nipples got hard, JP. I'm not going to lie, man. It's I've seen some big home runs in my time, but, as far as a franchise goes, that's got to be the biggest in franchise history, for sure. And now Garcia may be hurt. We don't know. He pulled something in his side last night, and haven't heard anything yet. He's having – they didn't call it an MRI. They just said he's having some imaging work done. So I don't know if they're taking Polaroids of his ribs or what.
That'd be an MRI, yes.
Yeah, it'll be an MRI. So we'll find out. If I find something out here during the show, I'll let you know for sure.
And Scherzer took it off looked like the elbow, right? The back of the elbow.
But he said after the game that wasn't correlated to his injury. The injury was tightness. And he said it had nothing to do with getting hit. He was fine after he got hit. So he's slated to start game 7, but we'll see. I'm pulling for him a little bit. That's why we went out and got him, was for these moments. He he got into a little jam last night and was able to get out of it. And then, he left early. But, man, John Gray, good Lord, what an acquisition that was. And he's been hurt most of the year for us.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
man, just look at Corey Seager. We've talked about this with the Rays. Vis-a-vis the Rays. I mean, everybody like, oh, you overpaid for him, and look at his regular season ad, blah, 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 blah. This is why you pay the money. The home run in game 1 last night. I mean, this is where big-time players show up, and this is what you need to win the big prize. You can win all the regular season games you want, get all your wild cards, and hang your banners, Rays, but until you start spending money on the big-time players, it's not going to happen. Look, you'll have times like 2020 COVID season. Yeah. You'll have times like 2008 when that was a fantastic Rays team, full of and that actually some players that were actually making some money. But it's rare. It's hard to do that. It's extremely hard to do that. And if you mixed in a little bit of this great Rays baseball acumen with a little bit of money, you could have something like the Rangers are experiencing here. But and look at their regular season, nothing to write home about, right? I mean, it was up and down, but you get in the tournament and you have players that have been there before, are big time players, know what they're doing, and when they come to the plate, they deliver in big moments. And and hopefully the new ownership, when the Rays get new ownership, which I think is right around the corner, they'll do that, and I think they will. I talked to somebody last night that's close to, and this is your Rays news for the day, at the Lightning game last night, that knows a few of the players involved in terms of, talked to a couple people actually last night, and they say it's very much ongoing. They're trying to buy this team. They do not want to build a stadium in St. Petersburg. And I think this is what Stu is doing. I think this is this is right up his alley. I think St. Petersburg is getting played. And I do not think this. We'll see. We'll see if the stadium goes through. And already, we saw at the council meeting the other day. Like I said on the big pep rally day when they announced this big thing, I said, well, let's wait to see the numbers. Let's wait to see some public comment. Let's wait to the politicians actually see this stuff on the plate. And what what they have to digest, and we'll see how easy it is. And you saw a lot of opposition on that St. Pete council. So I think it's anything but a rubber stamp. And Major League Baseball certainly has not even commented on this. They've not said one thing positive about it, because I don't believe they think it's going to happen. And I think Stu is using this as leverage to get more money from the people that want to buy this team, the two groups that want to buy this team and build in Tampa. And for me, is that not right out of Stu Sternberg's playbook? Are you kidding me? Of course it is. And Major League Baseball does not want to have anything to do with Stu Sternberg's lawsuit that's going forward to a jury trial. So to me, all this is it may go through. It may in the end happen. It may, these politicians may push this through, a horrible deal for the taxpayers. because they'll be getting something out the other end as they always do. I'm not impugning anybody specifically here. That's just what happens in our government these days. I think we all can see that. So it's no one with a business brain would sit there and say, yes, let's spill $2 billion after interest on a stadium in a failed location. Yeah. It's just the dumbest thing ever. That's a lot of money to waste. So whatever, we'll see how it goes through. But I'm telling you that these owners, these new owners, these groups are still trying to buy this team. They do not want to build a stadium in St. Petersburg. So to me, this is just another leverage play, as we've seen Stu do forever. He'll cash out at 1.5, 1.7, maybe 1.9, and he'll walk away. Having already taken hundreds of millions of dollars out of the team already, he will walk away an extremely rich man. When he came into this deal, I think he put like 50 million in 14, 15 years ago. And then, continued to screw over his partners and buy up shares of the team at pennies on the dollar using his coercive tactics, according to the lawsuit, allegedly. And now at the end, from a business standpoint, this dude should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame. What a tremendous job. And listen, he took a franchise that was moribund and just terrible on the field and made it a contender. So he definitely gets, I won't say high marks, but he gets credit for that. But I think the way he's treated the fans and what we could have had and could still have, and the way he's gone about it has been, at least in my mind, reprehensible. But it is what it is, and we'll see how it turns out. But I would, again, caution anyone who thinks that this stadium in St. Pete is a done deal. It's anything but. But it may come to fruition. We'll see.
Man, I'm telling you, this thing has in about 5 years, this has 30 for 30 written all over it, right?
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm doing that documentary. Trust me.
They've got to interview you when they do it. There's no question. I saw it.
I'm producing the documentary. I'm going to do the documentary. I'm not. I will be interviewing myself.
Contact ESPN about that.
Yeah, exactly. They can buy it from me because it's going to be good and it's going to be real. It's not going to be one of these, Gator, Urban Meyer produced, bullcrap sessions. No, this is going to be real, and we're going to talk to get down to brass tacks on what actually happened and what has happened over. Because I've talked to so many people throughout this saga, big time businessmen in Tampa that were part of the Raise 100 that Stu completely screwed over, and they're pissed, but they won't say anything publicly. All these guys are very, very political. They don't want to make any enemies. They don't want to make, but I'll tell you that displeasure is real. It is real. And he has, there are no people besides maybe the mayor and a couple of city councilmen that are running around applauding Stu Sternberg for anything. There are no politicians doing that. The mayors that have worked with him, quite frankly, despise him and because of the dishonesty. But they won't say anything publicly. But it's there. And it's obvious and when the story can be told, when he cashes out and is gone and heads back to New York and people feel like they can finally talk, wait till you see that spigot open up. And I will be there with the camera. I will be there with the camera saying, yeah, we can talk about it now because, he's never made himself a part of this community, not like Jeffrey Vinnick has, not like the Glazers have, has never made himself, endeared himself because it's always been about money and what he can extract out of the market. And it is what it is, but hopefully this saga will be coming to an end quite soon. And we can get some local owners in here who actually care about, baseball here locally, care about the fans, and will do it the right way. So hopefully. All right. I want to get into a little bit about the Bucs here. Listen, this is a crucial time for this football team, this particular season, because, they sit at 3-4 with a lot of winnable games left on their schedule. But there has to be a reckoning right now with this team and this coaching staff and the ownership group, because I'm here to tell you that there is some discord going on, and it's because of a lot of the decisions that are being made by this coaching staff, personnel decisions, and the players. Listen, the players watch the tape too. They can tell who's playing hard and who's not. They can tell who's giving up, who's capitulating, and who's not. They can tell who's playing well and who's not. And when there are guys behind them that could be better players or certainly give more effort, Everybody on the football team knows it. And the prime person I'm talking about is Devin White. And again, this is not a personal issue for me, but it's very personal for people within the organization. And it's pretty much widely known that Todd Bowles has really kind of taken Devin under his wing, and it's a wonderful human thing to do. There's no question about that. I mean, Devin's father died tragically last year, and he went out and played the game of his life in Germany on that week, and it was a hell of an effort. And Devin, again, this is not personal on him. I think he's a great young man. I think he's had some maybe the issues with his dad have really that's hard to deal with. His dad was died in prison in some very controversial circumstances, and that we don't know, and it's probably very hard to deal with. But we have to deal with things as they are on the football field. Okay, and I'm not trying to be an a-hole here, but he just you turn on the tape, it's awful, and he's not even really trying hard. I've never, it's piss poor effort, and everybody's watching it. And everybody knows they drafted a kid in Servassier Dennis who had a hell of a training camp. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that, he's better than what Devin White's ceiling could be, but that White ain't getting to the ceiling. He's been playing bad football for a long, long time. And everybody knows this. And if a coaching staff is going to continue to put a guy out there that it's perceived by many that this is more of a favoritism thing than it is a merit thing, your entire culture breaks down. Your entire culture breaks down. How do you ask these guys to go out there and lay it on the line week in and week out and give everything they can when you're protecting some other players over here? That doesn't fly in the NFL, and everybody knows it, and that's how teams break apart. Baker Mayfield right now is on the precipice of being replaced, because in the past couple of games since the bye week, he has not played well. He's missed receivers. There are guys open. Folks, you go watch the All-22. There are guys open all over the place. Dave Canales, I'm not sitting here saying he's, Sean McVay, but the plays are there to be made. There are some issues with hot reads and things like that I think could be could be executed a lot better on this team. And that, I think, falls into the Canales or the players, certainly. But in general, he's not pulling the trigger. He's not like he was the first 4 games. And this happens to quarterbacks. You kind of lose your mojo where, you start seeing the rush instead of looking downfield. It happens. Now, you can also snap out of it. You get a couple of good throws and you start to see the field and things open up. You can regain your mojo, get your confidence back. I mean, quarterbacks will tell you they go through this throughout their careers. So it's not something like once you lose it, you're David Duval, you just never get it back, right? You lose your game. It gets into your head. But once it's in your head, you got to get out of it. You got to start making throws. You got to start pulling the trigger. And a lot of times it's, guys feel the pressure of not turning the ball over. And I'm wondering, playing for a defensive coach, if this isn't a lot of whatever, when Dave Canales said this, do not turn the ball over, do not turn the ball over. And obviously that is a huge part of this game of football. We know the numbers. Okay. But you can't play that way. You cannot play that way as a quarterback. You have to be able to let it rip. Now, you can't be foolish with the ball. That's not what I'm saying. But it's the NFL. Windows are small. They're prison windows. You got to let it rip when it's open. If you hesitate for a moment, you are toast. And that's the difference between being a good quarterback and a bad quarterback. And right now, Baker Mayfield's a bad quarterback. This past few games, he has not been able to see the field and let it rip. Mike Evans is getting frustrated, I'm sure, because he's open. A lot of guys the coaches are getting frustrated because they're dialing up plays and guys are open on the initial read. He's got to let it go. Or, these are easy checkdowns that he needs to make that he's not making. So I'm not saying Baker has to go right now, but I'm telling you right now, that leash is getting short. And it needs to be. And if he doesn't come out and play well this week against Houston, a team that you better beat, that's why I think this is such a key game. This is a team that just lost to the freaking Panthers. Now, I listen. They've had some good moments this year. CJ Stroud has had some really good moments. They're a very capable team. They could come back next week and play a much better football game and beat the Bucs. There's no question about that. But to me, this is about the Bucs. They have to make the personnel changes that need to be made. You've got to take Devin White out and put Servassier Dennis in. I don't think that's even a question anymore. If he's going to play like that, he doesn't deserve to be on the field. Simple as that. If they could trade him today, that probably would be the best answer. Just get him, especially with all the shenanigans that went on in the offseason. If there was a report out there that he might be traded to Philadelphia, send him on. Hopefully, and maybe a new place will help him out. And I wish him the best. Again, this is not personal against Devin. You just can't have this. Robert Hainsey at center has just been terrible. He's been terrible, and he has regressed dramatically. I don't know what's going on with him. He played better last year, but Nick Leverett, to me, they said he's been working at center. He needs to be the new center. You got to make a change there. The interior of this line has been awful from the very beginning. Filer, Hainsey, and Malk have been awful. And, Cody Malk, look, he's a high draft pick. I get it. You're trying to get him to play. I don't think he's ready to play. I would maybe try someone else there as well, just to get this running game going. It can't be any worse. Those guys just are not blocking or moving anybody. So to me, those changes have to be made. Yaya Diaby has to be playing 70, 80% of the snaps. You got to get Diaby, Cansey, Vita Vea, Anthony Nelson, get that group going. I would bring Cam Gill in as well. Every time he plays, he gets pressure on the quarterback. Delaney has to play. And I understand that you're bringing Ryan Neal down in the box to help Devin White in the run game. But you've got to play that defense the way it's supposed to be played. And Todd Bowles knows all this, but for whatever reason, he's not doing it. They have got to make bold changes. And it's this whole atmosphere of covering for players in press conferences and covering for players. And it seems to me that it carries over to personnel decisions. You can't do that. You can't do that in the NFL. Everybody sees the tape. Everybody on your team knows who should be playing and who should not be playing. And if you violate that trust, your culture explodes. So to me, all these changes or some of them have to be considered and at least in my mind made and to turn this season around, because the tape that they've put out there the past couple of weeks is really bad. Even though you could say, oh, they're a Chris Godwin Hail Mary away from beating the Bills. That's true. But man, go look at the tape. They got lucky on that last 7-minute drive with 2 4th-down penalties, or that would have been a 2-score game. You wouldn't have even gotten close, and maybe the Bills tack on another and it gets even uglier. So don't be fooled by the way that stuff went down late in the game. To me, it has no meaning. You watch the entirety of the tape, who's playing what, where they're playing, and it's not good football. But it can be. It can be. And I think, if Baker can't find it, you go to Kyle Trask. The dude is 6'5". He can see over the line. He can rip it. And if he's letting it go, and he's hitting the guys when they're coming out of their break, and he's throwing with anticipation, he's going to be better than Baker Mayfield is now, the way Baker's playing now. So these are things that you have to be bold as a coach, and you have to start trying something different. When you're playing this poorly on both sides of the ball, you have got to try something different. And to keep doing the same thing and acting like, oh, we're in these games, you got to know better than that. You weren't in that game. You weren't even in the Atlanta game, to be quite honest. You weren't. You get 3 turnovers in the red zone. Good for you. That's great. But in the entirety of the game, you couldn't stop the run. You couldn't run the football. You're not in these games. You're not, because your personnel is not allowing you to be. And the coaching is allowing the personnel to be on the field, and, the coaching and the scheming, defensively, if you continue to play this zone defense and play to your weakness because you don't feel like you have enough man-to-man players to play man-to-man, if you got 3 out of 5, I'd be playing that as opposed to that crap zone that everybody picks apart. So they've got to make changes. They've got to be more aggressive defensively. They've got to be aggressive in their personnel decisions. And you can change this. You can change the narrative of this season. But if they go out this week and say, you know what, we're close and we're going to stick with what we've been doing, and we'll be no.
What they're doing is not working. I mean, that's the issue. And what I don't understand, it's maddening to hear me talk about, or hear you talk about, the lack of changes. If something's not working, change it. Right. I mean, every coach in the NFL does that. If a guy's not working out at a position, or if he's in a slump, pull him out for some plays. especially if you got somebody better behind him conceivably.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to Baker real quick. We know Baker's a streaky player, right? I mean, he has been since college.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a career 60% completion percentage is right about where he's at, which I think is right at or maybe just barely below the average, right? I think the average is just above 60%. Here's his completion percentages this year, right? Through all the games, starting with the Minnesota win, the first game of the season, 61.8, 76.5, 60 in the loss to Philly, 78.1 in the win at New Orleans, 51.4 in the loss to Detroit. That's abysmal right there. 64.3 the loss to Atlanta, 59.5 in the loss to in Buffalo. I mean, when he's hitting his targets, Tampa Bay's winning.
Mm-hmm.
In this 3-game skid you guys are on, he's thrown three touchdowns and 2 picks. But he's also averaging probably doing quick math in my head, probably about a 57% completion percentage.
Yeah,
and
I'm looking at
guys.
Yeah, I'm looking at his numbers. He's right at for the season. He's at 59.5%. That's
abysmal.
Yeah. Is that right? Am I reading this right? No, that was this past.
Yeah, 59.5 is at Atlanta,
he's a career 61.6%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. And it's interesting that the Rams came sniffing around for John Wolford, their third string quarterback, and the Bucs added him to the 53-man roster, which tells me that they're like, okay, we may have to go to Kyle, and if Kyle gets hurt, we may need Wolford. And Wolford played pretty well in the preseason. So
yeah,
I think look, if you're thinking that Baker Mayfield has solidified this job, that's just not the case. It's not the case, and he needs to play better. He's got to play a hell of a lot better than he has the last couple of games. And he did the first 4 games, he was the best quarterback in the league in third down and against pressure. Mm-hmm. So he's got ability to do it. There's no question about it. And, he's small. I get it, but he's proven that he can throw from the pocket. He's proven that he can do that in college and in the pros. Can he be consistent at it? I would much rather see Baker on the move 40% of the time. I would rather see him, but here's the thing, the bootleg action that they wanted to go to and the waggles, you can't do that when you're not running the football, because that defensive end that you count on, trying to chase down a run play and be part of the run defense, they don't do that. They don't need to. So he just hangs out and waits to see if Baker comes out the other side. And if he does on a naked bootleg, that kind of screws up the whole play. I mean, you can check it down, no question about it. It's just not going to be as effective. So they've got to do a lot of things better. And it starts with Baker Mayfield hitting the guys that are open, taking what's given to him, early on in the play, take the profit. I think he may be trying to do too much the last couple of weeks and tried to make, the hero play on and hold the ball a little bit longer. And it's a recipe for disaster. What it is.
He's got 2 fumbles the last 2 weeks too. So that tells you a little bit of something too, that he may be trying too hard. So the question is can Kyle Trask come, and this is the question every organization needs to ask when they're talking about making a quarterback change. Can Kyle Trask come in and be better than those numbers that Baker Mayfield is putting up? And I mean, I haven't seen Kyle Trask play since college. So I mean, what do you think?
He looked really good in the preseason, but he also, there were probably 2 or 3 throws a game when it was, that were, turnover worthy plays.
Sure.
So he's letting it rip, but he may be letting it rip too much. And I think that's their concern. Can he stand tall in the pocket and deliver the football down the field? Absolutely he can, with every play. And I think he showed, and Dave Canales even said this, not that he's going to say anything else, but he showed in the preseason in that competition that if they have to go to Kyle Trask, they're confident he can get the job done.
Right.
So to me, I got to see it, man. You can try to simulate it and you can try to look at preseason, but those are vanilla defenses. He's not seeing what he would normally see.
Right.
So it's, that's the thing that pisses me off about last year. You could have played him in the final game against the Falcons last year, but Brady wanted to play. And Brady didn't want Kyle Trask to get the start, which is ridiculous. The organization, you got a guy you drafted in the second round. You have a game that's meaningless. You have a game that you could stand him out there against an NFL defense and see how he reacts in a real game situation, and you don't take that opportunity. That was moronic. And I say that because I don't think that anybody in the organization wanted to do that. I think that was all Brady. And I don't get it. You got to say, sorry, Tom, Kyle Starton, go sit down, shut up, and, get ready for the playoffs.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Jesus, it's crazy. So, but they've got to see, and we've said this at the beginning of the season, unless Baker's lighting it up like he was in the first 4 weeks, you got to see what you got in Kyle Trask. So I really believe if he does not play well in this game, and he could go out there and throw for 70%. But if you turn on the tape and he's not doing what he should be doing, and guys are open downfield, and the coaches know this, they know what the play calls are, then you got to go to Trask. It's time to see, because there's nothing else. You can't predict it. I can't predict it. Kurt Warner can't predict it. Nobody can predict it. You got to put him in there and see what he does in an NFL football game. There's nothing like it. You can't simulate it. It's, go get it. And, and we'll see. And what is that? That home game is going to be against the Titans. After this week, they got the Titans at home. So it's a home game. You'd like to give him a guy his first start at the home, in a home game where it's not as noisy and whatnot, but whatever, that could be it. But I think, James can say here, Trask is not the answer. How do you know? How do you know? Do you have a crystal ball? Did you think Will Levis was the answer last week? And he may not be the long-term answer, but it looked pretty freaking good. Did you think Brock Purdy was the answer, James? I'm pretty sure you said Brock Purdy ain't the answer. He's Mr. Irrelevant. You don't know until you know. You don't know until you see it. I don't care who you are. Is there a chance that Trask might not be the guy? Yeah. There's a 99% chance that he's not the guy, because 99% of the quarterbacks that come into this league don't make it. So, yeah, anybody can say, oh, that guy sucks. Chances are he's going to suck, because it's really hard. There's 10, 15 guys on the planet that can do it.
By the way, who wasn't the guy here in Dallas for 2 years early in his career? His name's Troy Aikman.
Yeah. Exactly.
His first 2 years after being the number 1 overall pick by the Dallas Cowboys in 1989.
And where was Tony Romo drafted? He wasn't.
Yeah,
he turned out to be pretty good.
Troy Aikman played for 2 years behind guys named Babe Laufenberg, who's now our CBS affiliate sports anchor and on the Cowboys broadcast, and Steve Walsh, former Miami quarterback that came over with Jimmy.
Yeah, the noodle arm.
God, he was terrible. Went to New Orleans and he spared things up for us over there too. But so look, Troy Aikman he played, but he sucked for 2 years until Jimmy finally went to him and said, "You're our guy. Go win us 3 Super Bowls," and he did.
Yeah,
maybe that's what they need to say to Baker.
Anybody who thinks they know, doesn't know. Sorry, you don't. Nobody does, and the only way to find out is to put him in a few games, and see how he does. That's the only way to find out. You can't simulate in practice. You can't. You can get a feel for if the guy's competent enough, and if he can even make the cut to get a start. I think Kyle he's definitely answered that. Yeah. He's answered that he's got a big enough arm. He can handle the situation. He's got the ability to do it. There's no question about it. Can he do it with the real bullets? We need to find out. We need to find out before this season's over. That's for damn sure. At some point. And if Baker struggles one more game, I think that's the time. So, man, we'll see. And people say, well, you can't go back to Baker. Well, why not? You can if you want. But to me, it's like it's independent of that. With all due respect, we don't know Baker Mayfield anything. He's here on a $4 million tryout contract for the most part. And he did well. And now he's hit a little bit of a rough spot. We'll see if he can get out of it. But this is a big week for him. It's a huge week for him. And he's battling a knee injury and maybe even a finger injury. So, this may be time to put Trask in there. We'll see. All right, let's take a break. I want to get to a lot more of the comments here in our first hour. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. James, we'll get to some of your comments. We thank you for jumping in here, as always, even if I take you to task.
Take you to Trask?
We'll take you to Trask. Very nice. Thomas Casper wants to talk about the Rays a little bit, so we'll do that as well. Any questions or comments you have, please put them in the comment section on our Twitter at FanStreamJP. And we will interact and read them on the air. Quick break. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawgroup.com, and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. The great Chris Lugo came on with us yesterday with some great information. That's BAMMC.com. Get your appointment now. And the patio. Monday Night Football was big last night. Had a great party there. And then all week long, great place to watch the World Series. Head on out to the patio, 421 South Big Deal. Back in 3. Stay with us.
coins sitting around the house? Well, the Gold and Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
All right. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at the patio. We just mentioned them, and all weekend long they will be doing their happy hour every night, 3 to 7:30, $1 off beer and wine. They're already low prices. Great place to hang out, so head on over to the patio for all your baseball and football and hockey watching needs. All right.
Go Bolts.
Go Bolts, yeah. They 4-game road trip now. They start at Columbus on Thursday. Then they go to Ottawa, and then Toronto and Montreal back-to-back. So 3 division games that they need to win on the road. So
Man, that's a long trip, too, to Ottawa, as we say in Canada. Ottawa.
Yeah, it's getting cold up there, too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but this will be interesting to see how they continue to play. And Johansson will probably continue to play each and every game until the back-to-back. So he's been great. And they need to go on the road, get 4 or 5 points on this 4-game trip, and then come back home. They'll be doing all right. All right, want to get to some of the comments made here. You guys are lighting it up. Appreciate it very much. Bucs Basement said, Bucs must bounce back, but they won't. CJ Stroud is probably salivating at torching this abysmal secondary, and specifically Ryan Neal. We all know Bowles makes rookie quarterbacks look like MVPs. Hard to argue that. CJ Stroud coming off a tough game against the Panthers. They're looking at this defense going, well, boy, I sure hope they play that soft zone against us because we will torch it. And they will. Again, If Bowles goes out there and continues to do what he does because he's afraid to play man to man because he only has two good man to man. I've never heard a coach say that ever. Like you're paying two corners $15-17 million, okay, and they're man to man press guys, but your other three guys that you would have to play in man to man are not as good. Well, aren't they going up against the third, fourth, and fifth receivers? Like, if you have two great man-to-man, aren't you playing to your strength and taking away the two top receivers in man-to-man, leaving you options to cover the rest of the guys or bring pressure? I mean, I don't need to tell Todd Bowles this. This is with mystery to me. The guy's been a great defensive coordinator. It's almost like you become the head coach and you go, safety zone. I got to do everything super safe now because I'm, responsible for the wins and losses. But when I'm DC, I'll let it rip. I don't know, or maybe Arians was like, hey, don't play that soft ass zone. I want to get after it. And I don't know what it is, but he's got to be better. There ain't no doubt about that. You can't continue to play that soft crap. No. James says Scott Reynolds will say Baker not a quarterback that can win game by himself. Not many QBs can. Luke Easterling said it best yesterday. Canales' scheme was supposed to take care of that. I hope you mentioned that to Scott, JP. Well, he's right, though. Both of them are right. And Scott will be on tomorrow, by the way. You had to push to tomorrow. They're both right that Baker was never meant to be Tom Brady, and lift everybody up and become, this guy. He was meant to be a part of the orchestra and maybe not even the orchestra leader. He's supposed to be a guy that distributes, gets out on the move, is accurate, makes the right choices. He's not a guy that's going to sit back there in the pocket and just pick you apart and, with a huge arm and this great ability to read defenses. That's not who he is. So I think we all need to be better than that. So many people saying they should win the next two games. What indication makes us think that, especially Titans now with Will Levis? Both Stroud and Levis will trash Bowles' extinct defense. Agreed. Everybody on the Bucs schedule is looking at the Bucs saying that's a dub. So yeah, none of these games are all, but they are winnable. Like at San Francisco. Well, even now that may look a little winnable, but I don't see that as a winnable game for the Buccaneers. But that's the only one. The rest of these games, two against Carolina, yeah, they're winnable games. But are they going to win them? I don't know. They keep playing like they are. No, they're not. No way. Thomas Casper said Stu paid $195 million. Oh, actually, Stu did not. They bought the team for $195 million, but at that time, Stu was a minority owner. He was made the managing general partner. See, in these purchases, baseball only wants to deal with one guy. They found out early on when you have multiple owners, you don't want to deal with a bunch of different guys. They appoint one guy to be the managing general partner, and I believe at that time he bought into, I think, 25% of the team. So $50 million was his, and I think he was one of the highest at that particular time. But all these owners that are suing him, for the most part, these are the ones that he hasn't coerced to being bought out pennies on the dollar yet, allegedly by the lawsuit. So that, that's why he only paid $50 million of his dollars. So yeah, he's getting ready to walk with at least $1.5 billion. And that doesn't even count the money he's already taken out. Tell you, the dude's an MVP in the business world. Man. And he wants $5 billion. I don't think he's going to get $5 billion. Will Martinez, thanks for jumping in. He said, this is a must win. If you can't beat the Texans who just lost to the lowly Panthers, then you don't belong in the postseason. Bucs have 5 games where they should win, and this is one of them. Absolutely. 100% right. 100% right. If you can't win this week, honestly, then you definitely put Trask in. Then you're definitely looking at, you put every young player on the roster, you put them in and start working towards next year. If you can't win this game, now mathematically you're still alive, obviously, and you got a lot of winnable games on your schedule. But again, if you can't make changes and go in there and beat this team, then you who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? Go find out what you got in other places. Either White is playing hurt or he is a buffoon for half-assing it when he is trying to get a big contract. Not in the locker room, but it sure seems like Bowles doesn't hold these guys accountable. Listen, at the moment, Jalen Hurts threw him a pick six, threw it right in his gut. And he is running down the field and doesn't even try to run through a quarterback for a pick six. And I know, Jalen Hurts is not your ordinary little quarterback. Brock Purdy. but you got to make an effort to run. You don't run it. You don't run out of bounds. You don't run out of bounds. I don't care how hurt you are. You don't run out of bounds. And then, especially when you combine it with all the rest of the stuff. And if he's that hurt, get him off the field. Yeah. If you're that hurt, you should not be on the field. And any coach that puts you out there that you can't run over a quarterback, then you don't need to be out there on the. I don't care who's the backup is. That's on the coach at that point.
By the way, Brock Purdy suddenly looking human.
Yeah,
over the past 3 games.
When he's concussed,
isn't he always though?
Well, there's no reason for him to be put back in that game.
No,
that's weird. That was really weird. I don't know. That was weird to me.
Especially in this day and age of how careful they are with head injuries and stuff.
James says, of course, you could tell Baker is worried more about throwing picks than letting it rip. I'm sure he can fix this, but Canales can help too, JP. Maybe go up tempo for once. Well, again, this is another curious quote from Bowles the other day where he said they didn't want to go up tempo because they were having too many penalties. I mean, if you can't go up tempo in the NFL, what are you doing? Like, you can't run a 2-minute drill. What the F are you doing in practice?
Everybody practices that, right? Every week.
Yes.
Your 2-minute drill with both your quarterbacks, by the way. They both practice it.
Every week. Like a lot. If your team is not competent to run a 2-minute drill, you're just saying I'm the worst coach in football. You're basically just saying that. We're not good enough. We can't even handle running a 2-minute drill. Really? What are you doing in practice? Seriously, what are you doing if you can't run a 2-minute drill?
Says a lot about the coaching staff.
Yes. You're literally just admitted that you can't run a 2-minute drill because you get too many penalties. Am I missing something here?
That should be less penalties, right? Because you're not over the ball that long. It's quick. It's a quick snap.
I mean, it's just like saying, yeah, we can't get the center snap exchange. It's just, and we're having issues with that. Practice it. You can't run a 2-minute drill. Maybe you should practice it. Everybody else seems to be able to do it, but you can't. I mean, wow. I mean, I'm glad that he admitted it. But wow,
it's tough to listen to.
Yeah. Noby Davis says Bucs need 3 offensive linemen, no line, no running, no points. Yeah, absolutely. And again, why would you continue to put the same guys out there that are just getting destroyed? You could say, well, because we think the guys behind them. Well, I know for a fact Nick Levert did not get destroyed last year. I watched it on tape, and he hasn't played it down this year. And these guys are playing every snap. That makes no sense to me. It makes zero sense to me. Jeremy Lowe says, cut the zone crap. Play more Yaya and Vita back will help the rush. Absolutely. That's got to happen. No. This is another one from James. Bowles playing games with media amazes me. Anyone who watches this defense knows it's different. Yeah, I mean, that's the other part is you watch it. We watch it. And we're just like mystified how you can continue to play this same thing that you're the worst third down defense in football, yet you do the same stuff every week. I mean, don't you have to try something different? Yeah, and this is great. A good week of practice comment coming on Friday. Yeah, this is the most bizarre thing. Is like, yeah, we're really practicing well. I'm like, stop saying that. Someone actually, Tim, did a montage this week and went and cut up a bunch of stuff from Todd Bowles saying how, they're practicing well. And because that's an answer he gives for a lot of things that had go wrong. He's like, wow, we practiced well this week. It's like, well, yeah, because you're going against your own team. And it might probably looks better. Bad. It probably looks better because you're going against your own team. It's as much as I love Todd Bowles as a human being, you just cannot look at this team right now, especially after last year, where it just regressed so quickly as the season went on. And because the stuff that went on with Brady last year that was allowed, that's almost more admissible because it's Tom Brady, right? But
Yeah.
What's going on this year, just it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So here we go, and this is a Houston team that's got some players, but they've looked really good at times. And D'Amico Ryans, their new coach, is considered one of the up and coming stars in the league. So and they're coming off an embarrassing loss. So you're going to get their best, and they're going to be playing at home. I don't know what, Tim, you're there in Texas. I don't know if you follow them at all. I know a little bit about them, but not a whole lot.
Tell me again who you're talking about. Apparently I just
Houston, Texans.
Oh, the Texans. Oh, yeah. So Texans is one of the teams I cover.
That's what I thought.
For SI. And I mean, as far as I think the team's playing above its level right now. Clearly Stroud's playing above his level. I think Stroud's going to be fine, and I've never said that about an Ohio State quarterback coming into the NFL before.
Right.
He might be the first in a long life, maybe the first ever to work out in the NFL. I don't think the team's this good, but Ryans clearly has his thumbprint on this team. These guys are playing hard for him, and I think I picked 5 wins for them this year, which would be a huge increase over their 3-13-1 record from last year. But I think Ryans, and don't forget where this team came from. They've had 3 head coaches in the last 3 years. And I don't think Ryans is going to be a one and done guy for sure. They may have found that guy, but I don't know. And I don't have, my finger on the pulse of the Bucs like you do. I cannot imagine the Buccaneers losing this game to Houston, though. That would be, Houston just lost to Carolina.
Right.
And Carolina's terrible.
Yeah.
But the defense is their forte. And and that doesn't mean they're great. That just means that's the best side of the ball. If Stroud has an off game, they're toast. They're cooked. He's got to play like Joe Montana back there for them to have a decent chance to win. But they're not as good as they're playing right now. I'll tell you that right now. So I think the Bucs have a wonderful chance to break that losing streak.
Well, let's hope so, because they got to, or they can just start looking towards the draft at that point. Even though at 3-5 they're not out of it, but
well, you're still in the division. It's a terrible division. The Cowboys were in that situation a few years ago in the East, so it is what it is.
All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, TJ Rives is going to join us. We'll, TJ covers the fight game. I'm going to talk about this Tyson Fury and Ngannou disaster that happened over the weekend and what the hell's going on in boxing. That was a travesty. So we'll chat with him about that. Obviously, we'll talk about the Bucs as well. Mix in some bolts and rays, all things Tampa Bay sports with TJ Rives. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. If you have been involved in an accident, they are the first folks to call. Scott Jeeves will fight for you against the insurance companies. If you have a hurricane claim and it's not moving as fast as you would like, a strongly worded letter from Scott Jeeves will certainly help that along. So whatever your needs are, it's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Contact them through the website. Back in 3. Stay with us.
Do you have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Gold and Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Gold and Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. So do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Oh, no. Are we still there? Oh, sorry. I'm having a little computer issue here. Welcome back. We're good. All right, good. Sometimes you hit a button, bro, and you're like, uh-oh.
All the time.
This is not good. Yes, yeah.
She tells me she doesn't like it every time.
Oh, we won't go there. All right, let's welcome in my good friend TJ Rives, who just brought to my attention, and I hadn't read the whole article yet about the Dabo Sweeney call-in show this week that went awry. What's up, TJ? How are you, my friend?
Hey, it's always good to be with you. And as long as you did not activate a self-destruct sequence, I think we're good. I think we're good on a Tuesday for all of this. Happy Halloween. I wore a little orange for you.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, we're here on all fronts. We're here on fronts Buccaneers, Tim's Rangers.
Yes, how about that?
Is it too soon to start mentioning 2 games away from the parade? Should we not bring that up? Not yet.
Yeah, so in Dallas, we don't mention parades until it's time because of the 2006 NBA Finals when the Mavs were up 2-0, and our esteemed mayor, Laura Miller, decided to already plan the parade route in downtown Dallas before the NBA said, you know what, we don't want the Mavericks to win a title. We want the Heat to win a title, and then the NBA cheated us out of that title.
Okay, so it was not Mark Cuban's fault, but you eventually got an NBA title.
We did. Against those same Miami Heat, by the way.
You have not had to worry about a Cowboys parade in this century. That has not been an issue. So, but
what is that?
The Rangers parade could be coming.
Cowboys charade.
The Cowboys charade is correct. So, where do you want to travel first? You want to travel Dabo Sweeney?
You did the Clemson NC State game this week on national radio, correct?
I did, and they are broken. I mean, they are clearly broken, and your Knowles may be partially responsible for breaking them in the second half of that game at Death Valley. I mean, they were already bad on the Labor Day night game with Duke.
Yeah.
He just, for whatever reasons, okay, so it's reasons plural. The heat that he is under is because they have absolutely refused to dip into the transfer portal. Philosophically, he's against it. Okay, that's fine as long as you keep loading up enough talent, reloading talent 2 years ago, last year, this year, where you're playing at a sustained high level. They clearly aren't. So they don't have playmakers on offense like he's used to having. Clearly, Klubnik is not the same quarterback as Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence were. But now Dabo is taking on like the media, taking on the fans. So he said on his radio show a couple of weeks ago, maybe we need the bandwagon be a little less. Maybe we need more arm and leg room. Get rid of some of these people that aren't true fans. Well, now a caller calls his Monday night radio show, which I think was a teenage kid. I've seen the transcript, who starts talking about, for the money he makes, the talent they don't have, and Dabo just fires right at him. You're part of the problem. This is the bigger part of the problem. So it's almost like he's unraveling JP right now.
Yeah, I have the
Dabo's
transcript right here. He says, you're part of the problem, Tyler in Spartanburg. The appreciation, the expectation is greater than the appreciation. That's the problem. We've won 12 10-plus win seasons in a row. That's happened 3 times in 150 years. Clemson ain't sniffed the national championship for 35 years. We won 2 in 7 years. And there's only 2 other teams that can say that, Georgia and Alabama. Is this a bad year? Yeah, and it's my responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for it. But all this bull crap you're thinking, all these narratives you read, listen, man, you can have your opinion all you want, and you can apply for the job, and good luck to you. You can apply for the job, and good luck to you.
Maybe your mama needs to smack you for calling the radio show and calling out Dabo.
He's making $11.5 million a year.
Exactly. And you and I have
get paid. So,
you have done this, and I have too, for a long time. This never works. Taking on the media, taking on the fans. JP, it never works. It's a bad idea.
It's the beginning of the end is what it is.
So it always is, isn't it?
And by the way, I have the audio to that call if you ever want to hear it, JP.
Let me hear him smack. Let me hear him smack. What is it? Tim in Spartanburg? Tyler in Spartanburg, who called the show on Monday night. Do we have this?
Tyler into the program. Tyler, hope that you're doing well. You're up with
Dabo
Coach.
accent will be better than mine.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you said, Coach Swinney. It sounded a whole lot like Tommy Bowden. And I'll tell you one thing, Tommy Bowden didn't make the same amount of money as you do. You make $11.5 million a year.
Now, wait a minute. Pause the audio. Pause the audio. You can't pause the audio. We can't pause the audio. The preface to the question is all in like Macho Man Savage off the top rope. What did you expect for the answer? What did you expect for the answer that you just read, JP, and gave when you're going elbow drop off the top rope with your Tommy Bowden? You're making $11.5 million. I mean, of course he's going to fire back on that. My God, I hadn't heard that as the preface of the question.
I got to hear more.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I'm curious why that salary has led to a 4-4. And I know we're going to talk about, just being a couple plays away from undefeated and all that. And I know you're a man of religion. I'm a big fan, Coach. Before you categorize me as being in the 1.5%, I was going to Clemson games, and my entire family, going back generations, has been going to Clemson games before.
Your Honor, is there a question in our future?
So I'm not going to accept being in that 1.5%. And I respect the fact that you're a man of faith. I'm curious if you've ever read Proverbs 16:18.
Now we're going biblical.
Which talks about pride coming before the fall.
Pride comes before the fall, baby.
I was in the military, and
Can you hear Dabo
was overseas for the big run.
Like bacon on
and so I couldn't watch all the games. I tried my best.
Oh my God! Why did they let this guy just go on?
Continue. Like who's running
just for light of life. I appreciated all that. Something changed after 2018. You're humble, you're hungry, and everything. And I always told people, man, Dabo, just listen to his press conference.
It's the Tyler Show.
But after that 2018 national title, something changed, and there seems to be a lot of arrogance that came in. There's a lot of friends and family. I mean, 3 of the 10 on-field football coaches are external, experienced hires. Everyone else was an internal hire that had no experience before, or was a former player.
I had no idea.
Or friend.
The JP show here.
So I'm curious, why are we paying you $11.5 million
right back
to go 4-4? And it's not just this year. It's been just the refusal to
Who's hosting this show? What's this guy's name?
Tyler.
Hey, Tyler. I've listened to enough of you, Tyler. Listen, you can have all your opinions that you want. All right. I don't know how old you are. Don't really care. All right. But let me tell you something. We won 11 games last year, and you're part of the problem, to be honest with you, because that is part of the problem. It's people like you that all you do is the appreciation. The expectation is greater than the appreciation. And that's the problem. And so, we've won 12 10-plus win seasons in a row. That's happened 3 times in 150 years. So if you want to know why, Clemson ain't sniffed a national championship for 35 years. We've won 2 in 7 years. And there's only 2 other teams that can say that, Georgia and Alabama. Okay? Is this a bad year? Yeah. And it's my responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for it. But all this bull crap you're thinking, all these narratives you read, listen, man, you can have your opinion all you want. And you can apply for the job. And good luck to you. All right? But to answer your question, all right, we're second in draft picks. We've graduated 98% of our guys. We're second in wins. All right? If you want to know why, again, I'm telling you, we're not perfect. There's a lot of teams that, Frank Howard never had a bad year. Coach Ford never had a bad year. Coach K has never had a bad year in basketball. People have a bad year. But the part of the problem is the appreciation. I used to tell people all the time, they'd say, what's the difference in Clemson? I'm going to tell you. At some places there's an expectation, but at Clemson there's an appreciation. And what's happened at Clemson is we've won so much that even when it used to be the fun's in the winning, now even when you win, people like you complain and criticize the coaches and question everything. People like you, all right, when I hired Tony Elliott to be the offensive coordinator who never called a play in his life, I'm sure you were critical then. All right, and he took us to 2 national championships. People like you who just love to destroy people with your comments, all right? I'm sure you've never made any bad decisions. I'm sure you've lived a perfect life. I'm sure you've never –
There we go. I think that's good. This doesn't ever end well when you're doing this. So I guess it goes next level. I mean, I was there. They have some talent, but NC State outplayed them.
Yeah.
Klubnik, the quarterback, is not an elite quarterback. That's obvious. And so the question is this the beginning of the end? Or are we in the middle of the end of him being the Clemson coach when he won't embrace the transfer portal, JP? I guess that's a legitimate question.
He's got to, he said that, when players start getting paid, that he'll go to the pros. First of all, who's hiring you? No, he's a great, I always thought Dabo was a great college coach, and I love Dabo. But I think the last few years, he's gotten, you got to play the game the way the game's played, right? You got to adjust. You can't be a dinosaur. We know what happens to dinosaurs, and they've embraced the NIL now, and they're, Clemson's got money. They got lots of money. They have a lot of country boys with a lot of money. So they've embraced that now. Now he's got to embrace the portal, or he will be gone. You can't. And
we can't stress this enough. He's from Alabama, born and bred. Right. He played at Alabama. Yep. And the belief has been, there's your replacement for Nick Saban. Whenever Nick Saban decides that's it, this will be the natural guy to come in there and rock and roll right after him. But if you're the Tide administration, if you're the upper level, the boosters, I see it in your reactions. And for the fans that are watching us, if you're hearing that and seeing that, I mean, Saban can get away with that because they have a bad game. He does that to the media. He does that to a fan. And then they win 7 more in a row after that and go on to a 12-win season. That's where Clemson has not responded these last few weeks.
I didn't have a huge problem with his answer, TJ. I don't think it's a good idea to take on – but that guy was completely over the top. He was an a-hole.
I don't disagree with anything he said.
Everything he said,
with Dabo, you mean? You don't disagree?
Yeah.
In fact, I appreciate it. I don't want my head coach to turtle to Tyler and Spartanburg. I want him to come right back at him. Absolutely, 100%. So typically you shouldn't go after fans, but when fans are being assholes like that, and you're the host of the show allows him to go on with all that stuff.
That was ridiculous.
I do not want my coach to turtle. I want my coach to come back just like that. So I didn't have a huge problem with that.
Is he still the Clemson coach next year?
I think it's up to him. I think it's up to him.
Are you running for office? Are you running for office? Is he the head coach next year?
Yeah.
He's
the head coach.
I think he is too.
He ain't walking away from 11.7 million.
I agree with you on that.
He's
again, Klubnik, the quarterback, is pretty good.
Yeah.
You saw him in the Florida State game, but again, they run off DJ Uiagalelei, DJU.
Mm-hmm.
DJU was a very talented quarterback. He's done well at Oregon State, and there are a lot of people at Clemson that are wrangled that he didn't want to stay there, didn't want to play there, blah, blah, blah. Apparently the dad there was a lot of friction with the dad, and the dad publicly criticizing some things. So maybe that was, hey, it's best that you look for somewhere else to play. But you can mask a lot of ills, and this is going to morph into the Bucs. You can mask a lot of ills if the quarterback plays great. And Lawrence could mask that. Deshaun Watson could mask that. They don't have that right now with Klubnik. And NC State is pretty good. NC State's good on defense, but they handle them for much of the day. And Klubnik is a reason why they don't have playmakers. They don't have the Sammy Watkins, the Mike Williams, the big time, playmaking, right? CJ Spiller, the running back, the different playmakers they have.
This is what happened to Clemson is they're not recruiting like they once did.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line. And now recruiting is not just
and you couple exactly, and you couple that with not going in the portal, and you don't have the same talent.
The way Florida State is doing this now, and I think this is the model moving forward. All these teams now have a general manager, by the way, which I think is fantastic. So now they look at this. It's no longer high school recruiting is up here, at the very top, and then 6, 7, and 8 is transfer portal. No, right now FSU is looking at transfer portal. Like transfer portal is the best way to acquire talent. Why? Because I have tape on them in college. And I can look at these guys and say, okay, this you can go to high schools all you want and try to, say, okay, I'm going to project this guy can do it. But if I'm watching a guy take snaps at Ohio State, for 14, games, and I can project that this guy's going to be X when I get him here. So FSU has now said this is a much better way to assess talent.
To your point, that kid Keon Coleman at Michigan State.
Exactly.
They could see his tape, and I'm sure they're salivating that's going to be better than any high school kid at Valdosta, Georgia, or Tallahassee or Jacksonville.
Program changer.
Put him in there and look at the way he's played. And what is the correct numbers? Like 10 or 11 of Florida State's starting 22 are transfers the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So he's embraced it the last 2 years and built with it. Yeah. And look where it's gotten him. So,
but again, just like in NFL, you got to get the right transfers.
That's
you got to find the right guys, and you got to be able to convince them.
But here's the other thing: Jordan Travis has improved. Mike Norvell has helped him over the last 3 years, and their quarterback play is so much better than Clemson's quarterback play and several other teams probably in the ACC that are struggling. You can make up for things if the quarterback can get it done. So,
and this is another thing.
The Dabo thing, though. Wow.
Yeah, the Dabo. Listen, and I think if one thing Tyler did say that I get a sniff of, it is that arrogance. And I think when you're not embracing the transfer portal,
the Bible, pride comes before the fall, right on the coach's show. That is
right. And I'm like that. I think that looks to me like it has a little bit of legs because I think his recruiting classes, and we see this. You get the money. And suddenly those weekend trips you used to make to Podunk, Idaho to get, Jimmy Joe, you're like, I'm going to send the assistant to the assistant to go get that guy, and I don't know if that's exactly what's happening, but the proof's in the pudding. Those classes ain't what they used to be.
Let me give you
happened in recruiting, number one, and then not embracing the report. Yeah.
But let me give you a classic example, and then we'll move on to the Buccaneers real quick before I have to get out of here. Nick Saban, for years in the 2010s, said, we are not going to do the read option. We're not going to do the 4 and 5 wides. We're not going to do the hurry up, no huddle, come to the line, warp speed offense. He said it for like 2 or 3 seasons. And then you know what he realized? Everybody in high school is doing this. Yep. And if we are going to stay competitive in recruiting and with getting the top talent here, we've got to adapt, like you're saying, or we're going to die.
That's right.
And so now they play 4 and 5 wide. Now they run hurry up, not all the time. You don't see Alabama 2 backs and 2 tight ends anymore. Saban was like the last holdout for that for Alabama. And they play differently, not all the time, but they play differently. He adapted. He adapted because he understood I'm not going to get the best recruits at receiver anymore. or at quarterback anymore if we're not willing to embrace this. And that's the point you're making about Dabo. You either embrace how it's changed or you may get run out.
Absolutely. Well, and that does bring us to the Buccaneers.
And here we go.
And this is, my whole monologue here today was about they need to embrace some change. And, when they start the season, people kind of figure out what you're doing. So now you have to adjust. And it seems to me that the Bucs really haven't adjusted, and you got to be in constant adjustment mode in the NFL, not only from game to game, within, from quarter to quarter, as you well know. And so I think there needs to be some personnel changes go on, and Baker has to play better. He's just, and I think you can see it at the sideline level, TJ. He just doesn't have that confidence and that, the feet look happy. What are you seeing?
Well, and I've seen it now the last couple of games. It's obvious to everybody that he is paying a lot of attention to the rush around him. The feet are dancing around. He's not keeping his eyes up as much. If he was here on this show, he would admit that he has not been as good at keeping the eyes downfield, letting the rush bother him, not seeing open guys. Again, these are all contributing things. You can talk about the play caller. You can talk about the inability to run the ball. It all goes together because, again, back to the same point of a few minutes ago, if he's able to make a play on third down and sustain the drive, then you're fine. Then you reload. You reload with another play. Are you able to run it? And too much of the time, the last 2 or 3 weeks, the offense has sputtered, can't sustain a drive, can't, come out of the locker room. You're 3 and out on the first 2 possessions. You can't make anything happen. On either one of them, you were backed up in your own end, yes, but you can't make anything happen on the first couple of possessions of the second half when you've been talking about things at halftime. So it's just, if he plays better, here we go, week to week league. And I will say this, having the Sunday off from the Thursday night game, I watched a lot of NFL football. My God, was the Houston-Carolina game painful to watch. IndyCar, Tim, I don't know if you had that one there. That one and the Jets and Giants were enough to almost make you turn the NFL off. They were that bad of games.
Terrible.
So if you watch that Houston game and you're sitting back saying, we can't make some plays against that bunch, I know they beat New Orleans a couple of weeks ago and they've had a couple of impressive performances, but they were really bad in Carolina on both sides of the ball. D'Amico Ryan's coach's defense, I get it. But if you can come out and make a couple of things happen and put a couple of touchdowns on the board, restore some confidence, you got a chance to beat that team Sunday. And then you're right back at 4-4 coming home with Tennessee. I don't even want to enter the negative thought process of if you continue to struggle like what we've seen and you don't beat Houston, what's around the corner after that? So you got to do everything this week to be sharper, to be better, the QB included, and see if you can't sustain some stuff.
How close do you think it is to going to the Kyle Trask card?
That is a great question. You and I, again, I keep making reference to this. We have been around in this market. I've been in this market as a fan and a media member for 40 years. We have always said the Buccaneer fans' favorite quarterback is who? The guy that's not playing. I mean, we can go all the way back to the 80s. We can come forward to the 90s, whether you're talking about who should be playing instead of Vinny Testaverde, who should be playing instead of Steve DeBerg, who should be playing instead of Trent Dilfer, who should be playing instead of name one.
Casey Weldon. Casey Weldon should be playing.
Jameis Winston, who should be playing? Casey Weldon, Scott Milanovic, Eric Zier, on and on down the list. Should Mike Glennon be playing?
Yeah.
Bruce Gradkowski playing or not? Chris Sims playing or not? Over and over and over again.
Oh, Chris Sims reference.
Yes. So here we sit where the team was 3-1, but now you have played a series of 3 games with 6 points, with 13 points, and then what did you get the other night? 18 points with a late touchdown.
Luckily.
If you are sputtering again on offense and not winning, if at some point you've got to take a look at Kyle Trask and whether or not Kyle Trask can get it done. Who's in control of changing that narrative? Number 6. Baker Mayfield.
That's right.
He comes out and plays well, then everything calms down if you win the game. But if he's not, I keep going back and forth with other Buccaneer fans that are saying, well, Kyle Trask is just not ready. Kyle Trask is not going to help you. And I come back with, how do you know? How do you know?
Yeah.
And I will say this to you too. Again, standing in that locker room, I am a head taller than Baker Mayfield for what it's worth. He is gutsy. He is tough. But I am every bit of 6'3 3/4. You know that, JP.
Yes.
I'm a head taller than him. Kyle Trask is a head taller than me.
Yeah,
he is 6'5". And if you do not think that that makes a difference on being able to see the field in general, not just this case, but in general, it obviously does. So am I sitting here on your show saying time for a quarterback change? No. But am I saying to you that if the struggles continue, it's not the worst thing in the world to find out if Kyle Trask can play? Baker Mayfield's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. And people, and I said this earlier in the show, there are certain guys that I'll say, no, that guy should not be playing. Okay. I saw him in preseason. He's not ready to play in the NFL. What I saw from Kyle Trask, he's competent. He can play in the NFL. Can he play well? I don't know.
We don't know yet.
But he can stand in the pocket. I saw him rip 20-yard in routes. I saw him rip 20-yard out routes. I saw him throw the ball deep. I saw him run around. I saw him make people miss, embarrassingly at times. He can move. The dude can move. He's big. He can throw the football. And I also watched him torch the SEC pretty damn
That's correct.
good, which last time I checked was a pretty good league. So there's nothing in his resume that says he can't do it. Is there? There's a lot in his resume that says he might be able to do it. So as I said at the last game of last year, we got to find out what Kyle Trask can do. And we weren't able to do that. Thank you, Tom. It would be nice for us to see what he can do. And listen, Baker earned the job. He earned the first 4 weeks. He has struggled, and it's not just because the results. I don't just look at the results. I look at the tape. There's guys running open. As you know, there are plays to be made. He's not pulling the trigger, and he's been inaccurate. And when that starts to happen, then the next guy gets a shot, whether it's a quarterback, center, left guard, right guard, safety, inside linebacker, whatever the case. If there's a guy who's not playing well and there's somebody behind him that you don't know, you need to give him a shot.
Well, we'll find out. And again, a lot will ride. Not everything rides, but a lot will ride on how does it look Sunday off the little mini bye, the 10 days to regroup. Does it look better? And then the evaluation will be made. Jason Light and company, and the coaching staff will make the evaluations on what should we do here with the remainder of this season. We come back to the same point. I will say a second time. Baker Mayfield's in complete control of this with the offense by playing better, converting third downs, drives, points. Because even if, and I don't want to entertain it, even if you don't win, but you've looked better on offense and you've scored touchdowns and you've moved the ball, then hear me clearly, people, even in a loss in that situation, you're sticking with him.
Right.
If he is bad, hypothetically, again this week, it's not the most outrageous thing to consider. Somebody else may need a shot at 4 straight losses and 5 out of 6 while you got a lot of season left. I don't know what they're going to do. Let's hope that it looks a lot better, at least for my sake. I do the post-game shows.
That's right.
I do the recap podcast. I interview the coach all the time. I want them to win. I want them to succeed. So let's see. You got a lot of veteran players and a lot of guys that spoke up last week. I'm sure a few more are speaking up this week, and we'll see how it looks in Houston.
How do you think you do with Jim Harbaugh coming off the field?
I'm thinking that might be a little different interview. That whole situation, my Lord. Because now, have you seen the latest? Now you've got the ball boys. You've got ball boys that are apparently helping steal the signals and steal the plays on the opposing sideline. That's apparently part of this too. That's being alleged.
Saw that this morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Guys that run up and down, because sometimes
that's correct, because they can overhear, they can see things.
Yeah.
So that's apparently part of this
listed
too.
them as well into the espionage.
And so we said on your show 7 days ago, why can't the Big Ten have a hearing? Why won't the Big Ten act? These are Big Ten teams that are alleging the problems in Big Ten games.
Yes.
So, and I love all of the Michigan spin that everybody does that. No, everybody doesn't do this, and not to this extent.
No.
And by the way, it's very damning that Harbaugh struggled for a great part of his Michigan career to win the big games. And since the middle of the 2021 season, they've won 23 of their last 24 games while knowing virtually every play that's coming on both sides of the ball.
Shocking development. I've had some people on Twitter question my judgment, like, oh, so the players don't get any credit. Well, look at the results, especially against Ohio State. You couldn't beat them 8 years in a row. And then suddenly
you're dominating them in Columbus last year because every single play they're about to run. So
interesting.
Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see how that firestorm continues.
Of course. Yes. All right, TJ. Thanks, man. Appreciate it as always. At Bucs Sideline Guy on Twitter. You can find out. Oh, I didn't even get to ask you about Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury
Fury.
and Ngannou, the quick 60-second take. This is the supposed heavyweight champion of the world against a UFC heavyweight champion that's 37 years old. Fury looked awful. Fury looked like he didn't train 15 minutes for that fight. It was a poor performance. Ngannou is obviously going to make a bunch of money because the UFC guys don't make tons of money. In Dana White's business model, Ngannou made 8 figures for that fight on Saturday night, and he's going to make 8 figures probably again in another boxing match down the road. Bad look for Fury over in the UK. They're bashing him.
Bad look for boxing.
Bad look for boxing, but a bad look for Fury not taking it seriously. Because you compare it to Floyd Mayweather against Conor McGregor back about 6 or 7 years ago. Floyd took it seriously, and Floyd outboxed him, eventually stopped him. Fury didn't take it as seriously, not maybe as skilled as Mayweather. And Ngannou deserves credit because his footwork was good. He moved his head, he moved and showed angles, and he frustrated Fury, who didn't look like he was ready for that fight. So what a mess in the heavyweight division to have that go on. There's
all right, partner. I'll let you go. Thanks.
All right, so we're off to Houston. You have me back on next week whenever you need me. We'll see what the Bucs do.
You'll be on the early part of the show.
Timmy, I'm headed your way. Timmy to the Lone Star State. We'll see what happens in Houston this weekend with the Bucs. I'll be back with you after the fact.
There he is.
The great TJ Reeves, ladies and gentlemen. That's ladies and gentlemen. That's always good stuff. Yeah, I didn't know if we were going down the Clemson road too well, but that wasn't just a talk about Clemson. It's about college football in general, and it's I think it's become a much more interesting game now with the portal and NIL. It's recruiting, now big money's coming into it. I don't love that part of it necessarily, but it's brought parity to the game, as I thought it would. A lot of people said, oh, just the rich will get richer. No, the rich are always going to be rich. And now, these other teams can pay money too, and they can bring players in. And now it's not just a race of facilities. It's money and relationships and providing an environment, providing, a lot of different things that kids like. It's still a talent acquisition business. Then you got to coach them up. You got to develop them. No question. It's all part of it now, but I think it's going to lead to parity and a 12-team playoff. And
the whole Dabo things really boggled my mind for a long time. His lack of interest in the transfer portal. How long would a guy last in the NFL as a GM or a head coach / GM if he is not utilizing free agency in the NFL? You can't do that. You won't be successful, and you won't have a job. That's virtually what the transfer portal is in college football. It's free agency, and I love Dabo. I've talked to Dabo. He was part of that national championship team along with my buddy George Teague way back in the day. And I
love Dabo, but
he's a great guy, and I don't understand his lack of being able to embrace that. And it's probably going to cost him his job, and that's fine because he can't coach that way. But as far as him going to Alabama, I thought that was always the plan, man. I don't know that he's interested in that job at this point.
Well, I always thought that, once he built what he built at Clemson, why would you leave? You don't, there's the grass is not going to be greener, but things change, things change. And right now I think he doesn't have a choice. He has to embrace the transfer portal. And I think, originally I think he was like, look, I want to build a culture. I want to build a family. I don't want to, bring in people. I don't want to, have a quarterback or, even a left guard who was my starter for 2 years that I recruited and I stood by. And then, when some other player comes in who might be better than him and a pro prospect, and now I'm going to replace him. I get that. But that's all part of massaging it, man. And you've got to, if you're Mike Norvell, you got to tell your players, look, this is a meritocracy, and we're going to be bringing players in, and you better perform. And we want you to perform. We want you to be great. But there's going to be competition for your job each and every year. Welcome to big boy football.
And do you honestly want to be the guy that follows Nick Saban at Alabama?
Hell no.
No, I don't care if you're an alum. I don't care what your previous record was at your other school, how successful you were. There's no possible way I want to follow Nick Saban at Alabama. You don't
want to be the guy that follows Dabo Swinney, I hate to say.
No.
Look what he's done. His record is every bit of what he said it is. And it ain't easy to do what they've done. But I do think, there may have been a level of taking your foot off the gas. You finally achieved the big money. I'm smarter than everybody else. I think there's a level. I think there has been a level of arrogance to his comments and to his that is fair game. That is fair game. And if he doesn't embrace the transfer portal, he will be fired. That is plain and simple. And he will never get another job.
No, and he shouldn't. And he
No.
shouldn't. That's ridiculous. You know who I would like to be though? I would like to be the guy that follows Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M.
Yeah, because there's a lot to work with.
Yeah, you can't do anything wrong at that point.
Yeah. Well, that was Willie Taggart at FSU. So.
Yeah. Man, they wanted Fisher out of there too.
Oh, well, he wanted to leave. That was a mutual parting of the ways, but the way he did it, was disgusting and displayed his horrible character.
It's going to get ugly here in Aggieland too. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, and then as I predicted, I predicted 5 years. What year is he on now?
6.
Is this year 6? Yeah, I predicted 5 years. That would be all they could handle. But you think this might be it?
No.
What has he got left on his deal?
2031.
How much money? $77
million is what his buyout is for this year. After this year, it goes down to like 62. And you know what? Pay it though. They have it. They're the richest freaking school in Division I college football, hands down, and it's not close.
First of all, how did it get to this point that you have to that a guy can suck at his job and get a $77 million?
Well, here's why he's got to.
They got to change this. This has to be a rule across the board. It's first of all, someone needs to get control of. There needs to be one governing body over college football,
right?
And there needs to be a rule in terms of the coaches' salaries and coaching contracts that you cannot. There's 2 years max buyout. 2 years max buyout because what happens is it becomes a stupid competition. In order to get a coach, you got to do what everybody else is doing. And these administrators are like, oh, okay, we're going to get a national championship coach. Then, you got to save them from themselves is what you have to do.
Well,
like the NFL does with the salary cap.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening here. Do you know why he's got they signed him to a 10-year extension in 2021 when the Aggies athletic director, Scott Woodward, who hired Jimbo, went to LSU.
Right.
What happened in 2021? Coach O gets fired, right? Now the Aggies administrators are freaking out. He's going to follow Scott Woodward to LSU. They're going to hire him away over there. Hell, let's give him 10 years.
Yeah.
And they did it. Woodward had no interest. He would have waited and hired Jimbo because he already knew he was going to LSU. If he wanted Jimbo at LSU, he would have just waited and hired him there.
And I think guys like Jimbo Fisher have to, they have to jump around, because they wear out their welcome.
Exactly.
And people figure out who they are. And then it's like, they don't want you around anymore.
Yeah.
So, and so they have to keep jumping ship to people that think, oh, he won a national championship. Dude, you and I could have won a national championship with that team. I mean, are you freaking kidding me? Go look at that roster. Good God.
Right.
I mean, 22 guys that were, played in the NFL as you're starting, I think it ended up being like 35 that were on NFL rosters. I mean, if you can't.
I mean, the fact that he only won one with that roster is what's telling.
Yeah, and every other year lost 3 or 4 games. Every year without Jameis Winston, he lost 3 or 4 games. So he's not a good football coach. Never thought he was, even when he won a national title. All right, we got to hit another break, and when we come back, I'm going to maybe hear from Coach Cooper from last night. Another overtime loss, but another point for the Lightning. Where are they at in terms of their progression in this season? We might even talk about the big trade in the NBA, Tim. We might talk about that.
Think so? All right.
Yeah. And we're brought to you by the great folks at the Patio. Make sure you head on out there this weekend for all your football and baseball watching needs for the World Series. The best place to have a cocktail under the palm trees, under the stars, a great outdoor space. It's the Patio. They have indoor space as well. Great staff over there and cheap drinks, which is in this economy a wonderful thing, right? Back in 3. Stay with us.
Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz, the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Golden Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Golden Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement cost, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. Get your insurance checkup over there, auto, business, life, whatever your insurance needs, and let them shop it around, folks, because homeowners insurance, it's going up like crazy, right? But new companies coming into the markets, they like to get that initial buy of the insurance, and then they tick it up each and every year. We'll take the 1 year where you're going to pay $1,000 less, right? It's all the same stuff, insurance for the most part. Get with the good companies, right? But if they're going to offer you lower rates for the first year, why not take them? Jump around, get your insurance, save money. That's what they do at Italiano Insurance. They'll direct you. They'll let you know what's going on. But with the prices today, folks, you need to save every dollar you can. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. So give the good folks at Italiano Insurance a call, 813-877-7799, 813-877-7799. Tell them JP sent you. Just have them shop your insurance. That's simple. They can save me $1,000 on my auto insurance. One call.
Damn.
That's a lot of money.
How many Ferraris do you own?
Just one now.
Just one, okay.
I got rid of the other two. Yeah.
Did you see the breaking NFL news, JP, during the break?
I did not.
The Chicago Bears have traded for Commanders defensive end Montez Sweat.
Yeah, I heard he was on the trade block. I was wondering if the Bucs were going to go get him. The Bears traded for him?
The Bears.
I mean, he's on the last year of his contract. Am I correct? I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I can confirm or deny that here in just a second.
Some of these deals I would hope would be for players that are teams that are in the hunt. I would not put the Bears in said category. of being in the hunt. But
Right.
you know, I would love for the Bucs to make a move to get a pass rusher. They don't have anybody that can produce a one-on-one, you know, like just sweet move, get to the quarterback and make a big play. You know, the Shaq Barrett used to be that guy, but he's not, hasn't been this year, unfortunately.
Yes, this is the last year of his contract. Why would Chicago go out and do that? They're not going to win anything.
Right. What did they give up for him?
I don't have that yet. Ian Rappaport just tweeted that out during the break.
How about Jahmyr Gibbs last night for the Lions? Woo!
Man.
189 yards from scrimmage, total off. Good thing he didn't play against the Bucs. Whew.
You know, and I'll be the first guy to admit when I won't be the first guy. I'll be a top 10 guy to admit when I'm wrong. I don't want to go too far there. A lot of people know me. Man, I had zero faith in the line. Well, my entire life they've sucked, but you know, crap, I just forgot his name. Head coach.
The Lions.
When Dan Campbell took over as coach, you know, former Aggie, former Cowboy, I'm like, what are they doing, man? They just continue to screw up whoever they hire, whoever they draft. It's all for naught. But man, Campbell has been a monster in Detroit, leading that team and turning the whole thing around. And who would have thought? 3 years after the Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trade, that we'd be saying Goff is better than Stafford. I mean,
yeah, and look what they got in the trade too.
Yeah.
They've done a tremendous job. And Brad Holmes, local kid from Tampa, Chamberlain High School, their general manager who pulled the trigger on that deal, you know, he remade the Lions right there. And I think you're going to see the same thing happen in Seattle. It's already happening in Seattle.
Yep.
You know, what they got for the Russell Wilson deal and for a quarterback declining. I mean, you know, we can look at this and say, look, you know, the template to win a Super Bowl, go get a Matthew Stafford, go get a Tom Brady. That worked. No question it did. But, here's another template to remake your entire team and make it competitive again. Sell off a good quarterback late in his career, or where you're just, it's not helping you. If you're so bad as a team, your roster's so bad that even a good quarterback's not putting you over the top, then why not, sell him off, get a ton for him, and then remake your roster. And that's what Seattle has done. They've done a great job of that already. Yeah. And they've still got more draft picks to come, if I'm not mistaken, from that deal. Yep. So, And unfortunately, the Bucs don't have an asset like that. Maybe it would have been nice to sell off Brady to the Miami Dolphins.
Should have just done it.
Yeah. Well, Bruce said 5. I would have taken 2. two would have been nice.
Just anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for the last year that you got. No, but that's clearly an option. But what the hell are the Bears doing? I mean, they're not doing anything there. You go get a guy on the last year of his contract. Like, at least the Bucs are still in it to win a division title, and I think that's worth something.
Yeah.
If they were to go out and make a move for a guy like that, that would be good. And I would give up maybe a 4th round, 3rd round pick to do it. Maybe not a 3rd rounder, but a 4th rounder. And you also, maybe the Bears are thinking, I don't know why they would think this, but you would want to say, well, let's bring him into our culture, and then we'll give him a contract extension, and if he wants to stay here. Because I don't know why you would, unless they're promising his agent that they're going to do the contract extension that they want, then yeah, that's worth it.
It's a 2nd round pick, 2024 2nd round pick.
Well, then they better damn well get him signed. I mean,
you have to have something in prearranged, because they've been discussing this for a while. I knew Atlanta was talking to him, the Bears were talking to him, Philly was talking to him, but Chicago, Commanders didn't want to trade him in division, rightfully so. You've got to have some sort of thing set as agreement that I'm going to sign an extension with you guys when I get there.
Yeah, you better have that done.
Give up a second.
If you give up a 2nd round pick and for a rental for a season that's going bust. Yeah, that'll get you fired as a general manager. So they. And can they work out those deals ahead of time? Can they negotiate an extension before they make the trade?
You have to be able to, right? You have to.
I would think so, but then why wouldn't they announce that right now? There's no way. And if I were the Bucs, I would do that. They need a pass rusher so bad.
Yeah.
They need a pass rusher. And they can have Devin White too. We'll trade you.
There you go. We'll send you that for a case of pylons.
Because you ain't getting a Montez Sweat in the 2nd round. You know, I
No.
mean, not the guy that you know is going to be a proven pass rusher in this league. So, yeah, the Bucs are in desperate need of that right now. They don't have anybody coming off the edge that scares you. They just don't. And that's such a big part of football right now. That's a huge part.
Oh, that does wonders for a team. I mean, it helps when you've got an adequate pass rush. JP, you know this. It helps out every other aspect of your defense. It helps out the linebackers. It helps out the secondary tremendously because you're reducing the amount of time that the quarterback has to go through his progressions. And it worked wonders, man. That's when the Cowboys defense started getting good.
Yeah.
Right when Parsons came in and the opposing quarterbacks got 2.2 seconds to make a decision on what to do before his butt's on the ground.
Yeah. And it's got to be a guy that can consistently beat somebody one-on-one.
Yeah.
It just changes the entire package of what, and then you coach it up so you can get that one-on-one. You create that one-on-one through your coaching schemes. That's good coaching. And you get pressure. That's not something we've seen with the Bucs this year.
Mm-hmm.
Richie B said, I heard Coach Prime say that as well. Transfer portal is where it's at. Absolutely. You know, it's just, think about it, folks. You know, you can spend 4 or 5 years literally recruiting a high school player, you know, and it's done all the time. And then you get all that energy, all that expense, and he can choose between, you know, whomever, you know, 1 out of 7 places, and you really have no control over that. You could do the best recruiting job in the world. And as Bobby Bowden once told me, you know what, buddy? One time I heard a guy say, I came to your school because I liked your helmets. Your helmets are the best thing. I said, dadgummit, I all those wonderful things I told your mama, and you came here because of the helmet? And it's true. It's 100% true.
That's pretty good Bobby Boucher impersonation you did there too.
Is it why not like go have a guy in a transfer portal where it's like, okay, you're coming here, okay, and you know you already have his tape. You knew Keon Coleman was the shiz, and you knew how much you were going to offer him an NIL. You're just making deals. Yeah. Whereas and that's a 3-month process, right? It's not a 4 or 5 year process, and you don't even know if the kid's going to be any good. So where should you put your resources? Transfer portal.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Now I think you got to do both. You got to pay attention to your high school recruiting, but you also, I mean, if you're going to, I would still put more emphasis on portal, and then, you know, maybe, I don't know, 60% portal, 40% high school recruiting. Or now you'd have to say you're 50% portal, 30% high school recruiting, 20% roster retention.
Yeah.
Because you've got to pay attention to retaining your guys so they don't get away once you have them. So it's a totally different deal. And if you're just doing high school recruiting, Dabo.
And there's an advantage to the recruiting portal because in most cases, you've got college level tape on these guys. You kind of know what they can do. When you're recruiting somebody from high school, you have no idea how they're going to match up against other guys 100%. Now at the college level. You know, not every guy that goes into the portal has played, because that's part of why they're transferring, but in some cases, but most of these guys, you've got tape at the college level against competition they're going to be facing with your team. Yeah. And it's an advantage because you kind of already know what he can do.
Yeah. And you also, you know, can get more information on what are his practice habits. Yeah. You know, how did he adjust to college life? Because some of these kids come in and they're just so overwhelmed. Doesn't matter what their talent is. And so there's so much more that you know about the player and he's older. You know, he's older. It's a way better system, in my opinion, to concentrate on. And as Richie P says, unfortunately, today's coaches are always on the clock and don't have time to turn the program around. They have to go to the portal. Well, I think you could say that, you know, it's not unfortunate for Mike Norvell because, you know, in 4 years, and really 3, because one of them was COVID, 3 years, he's turned a team that lost to Jacksonville State into a playoff contender. Like, if you're doing that through high school recruiting, it's taking longer. It's going to take at least 5 years to get to that level, in my opinion, if you can ever do it at all. But again, here you have an established brand like FSU. That's an established brand. Kids know it. They love it. You know, you've created that. So there's an automatic, you know, you're in a Power 5. You're always on TV. You got everything. You got NIL now. You got everything that you want in that place. Facilities are fantastic. Now you don't have to have the best facility. You just have to have, you know, reasonably adequate facilities. You have to have the good locker room, the good football thing, and the indoor facility. You're good to go. Now pay him the money. So I like it better. Jeremy Lowe says they gave up a draft capital for a half-year player. Again, they have to have, some assurances that deal is going to be done, because otherwise, you're fired. You can't do that, especially for a season like they're having. But also, this goes to the quarterback as well. And I think this has got to be a kind of a change in perception for football coaches in the NFL. The quarterback is important. We all know that. But look at what backup quarterbacks are doing. Look at what Will Levis did. Look what Tyson Badgett did. I mean, look what I never even heard of that dude. Where did he play? Shepherd? I mean,
Shepherd University or Shepherd College.
You're starting to be able to find quarterbacks. Not that these guys are established in the league. I'm not saying that. But we make it out to be, if you don't draft a guy in the first 5 picks, you got no chance. That narrative needs to sail. I mean, look at who the good quarterbacks are in this league right now. They're not all top 5 draft picks. And look how many of those top 5, 10, 15 draft picks have been horrible and have absolutely crapped the bed. All right. Do we have you have time to play Mr. Cooper from last night?
Sure thing.
Have that available. Bolts lose last night, 4-3 in overtime, still pick up a point. 8 points out of possible 10 on the homestand, 3-0-2, not too shabby. But maybe couple opportunities late that got away. Should have won the game. But here's Coop from last night post-game.
John, after falling behind early, how did you like the way maybe you guys got fought back?
They played hard enough to get us a point. And I told the guys in the locker room, I commended them for coming out and playing 2 pretty damn good periods. But it's the National Hockey League, and you're going to spot a team 3 goals in the first period. Got to get the next 4 to win the game. 4 in 2 periods. And so, people are going to look and say, oh, you hit a post here, you missed this here at the end. But that's not where the game was lost. The game was lost in the first period. And for whatever reason, we talked about this at length, and we've had a little bit of time off, and you could tell, and we didn't game it out near to the desperation we played with as that game went on, in the second and third. So disappointing, from that respect. But you can sit here and spot them 3 goals and say you're going to get a point out of it. We'll take it.
Obviously, your struggles in overtime. Is this becoming maybe a mental hurdle too? I mean, if you guys constantly chasing the puck in that session.
Well, it just comes down to, we haven't won a face-off in overtime. So if you're not going to win face-offs and then you're going to take penalties, it's really hard to do anything in overtime. And I thought we played it okay. Again, they had possession. We made them turn it over at one point, ended up getting a 2-on-1 out of it, and we were that close to winning it in the limited time we did have the puck. But turn around, lose another face-off, take a penalty, and that's it. Then you're in a little bit of trouble, and we couldn't kill it off.
The Toronto game, you mentioned about how good Johansson played. He was pretty good tonight too.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I guess because he hasn't played a whole bunch of games, so people say, want to say, how has he played? He's given us a chance to win every night. So, it's again the fact that they scored 3 goals, that was completely the guys ahead of them, in front of them, and so, and then we needed the save. We gave up 2-0, and he stopped it. He gave us a chance to get points, and we ended up getting 1. We didn't get 2, but he's, like I said, he's done fantastic for us. Those things, I love them and I hate them. Those tributes, and it feels like we get 4 or 5 a year. That was, it just brings back a flush of memories of just great times. And he was such a good teammate, and you could tell by that video. I'm sure there was a ton of footage that was left on the floor just because of time constraints of all the great things and the positive impact he had on our team and our community. And so, it's always great to see those, but sad as well because, he's a big part of us.
Coach, you get 8 out of 10 possible points on this home stand. Do you feel better about this team as you head on the second road trip, maybe to have a little bit more success than you did on the first road trip?
Do I think we're a better team now than day one of the season? I do. Do I feel like we're a better team than we were a week ago? I do. Is that going to translate into points? I can't sit here and say that. If we play with the desperation we had in the second and third, I'll take our chances. If we play with, the how little lethargic we were in the first period, it's going to be tough for us. That's what it comes down to.
John Cooper never missing an opportunity for a teaching moment, and that was it. You got to start the game with the same desperation you play the second and third. And even against a team like Seattle, it's not a bad team at all. But you give up 3 goals in 3 minutes and 44 seconds, and certainly not on Johansson at all, any of those goals, then this is what's going to happen. So good learning lesson for this team, and they head off on this road trip now. Thursday, they'll be at Columbus, then it's Ottawa, then Toronto and Montreal. So, but I agree with, I agree with the coach. They're getting better. They're getting better. They're definitely – and they've got Tyler Mott hasn't really played yet. I think he's going to be a big part of what they do. Alex Barboulay has scored his 3rd goal in 3 games, 4-point streak for him. Nick Paul and Hagel are off to great starts as well. So, yeah, this team I think is going to be better than they were at the end of last year when they were a title contender. And Vassie was back in practice last week, so looks like he's ahead of schedule. And not that we need him back. And here's the other thing. Johansson has proven to be a very, very capable goalie. They won't have to, Vassie will not feel the pressure to play, 3-4 times a week now. They can, as he gets older, and Vassie's 30 now, they can start spacing it out. He's played the most minutes, I think, of any goalie over the past few years. Now they can start taking advantage of having a guy who's 28 years old in Johansson, who they can have as a capable backup for a lot of years. So, well, that's got to help your team as well.
Yep.
All right, our thanks to TJ Reeves. Tim, great job for you. If you missed anything, remember you can always like and subscribe on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Please like us and get the notifications when it drops. It usually drops at 12 o'clock each and every day. If you're listening to it as a podcast or watch us live 10 to 12 on RHS TV, that's an app that you can download on your television directly, and also on YouTube and Facebook. And where else are we? I think that's all.
Twitter or X, whatever. Yeah.
Twitter and X.
Said that.
Lots of different ways to watch and interact. Thank you guys for tuning in today. And go Bolts, go Rangers. We're definitely on the Rangers bandwagon, my friend. They beat us, so let's go Rangers.
Appreciate you. We need you.
Get her done. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.